Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'll be giving a brief overview of most of the major shoes in On for 2024. This is by no means all of the shoes available, but these are all of the heavy hitters and all of the ones that I've had experience running in. And before I get into it, I wanted to mention that I've done this video in previous years, and I wanted to make a note that On is making big improvements into their shoes. First of all, as some of you may know, that there's been a tendency to get stones stuck in the outsole. Well, in a lot of the new On shoes, they're closing up this channel in the center as well as the spaces in between the cloud pods, so it's getting much harder, if not impossible, to get stones stuck in the outsole. And then in many of the new shoes coming out, the midsole has been softened up quite significantly. So if you remember On shoes of a few years ago that were a bit on the firm side and had a tendency to get stones stuck in the outsole, those days are gone, and On is putting some great products out there. And let's get started with this one, the Cloudflow 4. So this shoe screams tempo day shoe. This shoe is a little bit on the firm side, but it's very responsive and it feels great at faster paces. And for me personally, that's what I mostly use this shoe for. It's mostly a tempo day shoe. Next up, we have a classic daily trainer, the Cloudrunner. This shoe is going to be best for your short to medium runs. Has a super comfy on-foot feel. One thing I will mention is all of the On shoes have built-in sock liners, so they are very comfy on foot. And the Cloudrunner, being a classic daily trainer, is no exception. Next up, we have the Cloudflyer, and this shoe skews a bit more towards being a stability shoe than a neutral shoe. You can see this different colored foam that wraps around the back of the shoe. This is just a harder or more dense foam, and it's going to prevent a bit of pronation, hold your foot in place a bit better. Overall, as a running shoe, I found the support to be maybe a bit too much for my foot strike, but ever since I retired them as a running shoe, I've been wearing them as my daily shoes, and I've been loving them for that. Another thing I'll mention about the Cloudflyer is if you know you have a really high volume foot, this is a really high volume shoe and it would match that type of foot type. All right, now we're getting into some of the more popular On shoes. This is the Cloudmonster 2. So as you can see right away, this shoe has huge cloud pods and it gives this shoe a really fun ride. I would call this a pretty versatile daily trainer. You can use it for some up-tempo work. It's great for long runs. You could use it for easy runs too if you'd like. The new version, the Cloudmonster 2, does fit quite wide in the forefoot, FYI, but overall a really fun daily trainer from On. All right, next up we have my all-time favorite On shoe, the Cloudsurfer. So again, another shoe that fits into the daily trainer category, and I would say this is one of the softest On shoes available. First of all, this shoe's midsole cushioning isn't the normal cloud pods. On calls this cushioning system the Cloudtech phase, and it works really nicely. Another thing that makes this shoe much softer is this shoe doesn't have a speed board. So in almost all of the other On shoes available, there's what they call a speed board. It's essentially a plastic plate. You can see it through the bottom of the outsole here. It almost always runs the length of the shoe, and it's either going to give the shoe support or help with some energy return as it loads up each foot strike and then help propel you forward. Well, On decided not to have a speed board in this shoe, made it ultra soft, and I love this shoe for everything. I did short, easy recovery runs in it. I even did some faster paced stuff in it, and I used it for long runs all the time. Ultra comfortable daily trainer, and I can't say enough good things about the Cloudsurfer. Next up, we have a shoe that I like to say is the Cloudsurfer on steroids, and that is the Cloudeclipse. So similar sort of midsole cushioning in the shoe, the Cloudtech phase, there's just more of it. So you're getting a higher stack height, and because of that, On has had to put a speed board on the very bottom of the shoe, and that helps give the shoe much needed stability that it would otherwise need if it wasn't for that speed board. The Cloudeclipse definitely fits into the max cushion daily trainer category, and for me personally, I've miled out my Cloudsurfer and my Cloudeclipse, and for my Cloudeclipse, I mostly liked using it for my easy long runs. All right, next up we have a shoe that fits into the super trainer category, and that is the Cloudmonster Hyper. So very similar shoe to the Cloudmonster as it shares the same name, but there are some major differences with the Monster Hyper. First of all, this shoe has no speed board in it, and second of all, this shoe has some PEBA foam basically in the first half or first 2/3 of the shoe. So this shoe is lighter, more responsive, softer than the Cloudmonster version. So if you're looking for a Cloudmonster that has a bit more performance packed into it, look at the Cloudmonster Hyper. All right, now to show a couple of trail options. First up, we have the Cloudultra 2. So really nice shoe. The first version of this had some fit issues. A lot of people had to go up half a size in the first version. This one fits true to size, has a really nice soft sock-like entry. The midsole has been softened up, doesn't have the most aggressive outsole. These lugs are pretty short, but if you're going super long distance on hard packed trails, I probably couldn't think of a better shoe than the Cloudultra 2. And the second trail shoe is more so a door-to-trail shoe, and it's actually a trail version of my favorite shoe, the Cloudsurfer, and that is the Cloudsurfer Trail. So very similar shoe to the Cloudsurfer, just with a slightly more aggressive outsole option. Now the lugs on this are very small. I believe they're only 2.5 millimeters. So this shoe you're not going to want to take through snow or mud. But if you want a shoe that can do it all, you can run pavement no problem comfortably and then head off into some trails, especially like some hard packed trails. This is your jam. Like I already said, the Cloudsurfer was my favorite road shoe, and so far I've done a few runs in the Cloudsurfer Trail, including a huge epic trail run a few days ago. And I've had no complaints with this shoe at all. Now when it comes time for race day, you could certainly use any of the options I've shown, but if you want the ultimate in terms of speed and performance, you're going to want to look at the Cloudboom Echo 3. This shoe is aggressive, fast. I think for most people it's probably going to be best kind of at that half marathon and under. And the shoe does have a very short life, so even on the box that the shoe comes in, it says you're going to get a max of 4 marathons out of the shoe, so not going to be an option that you're going to want to do a lot of training in. But overall, if you're looking for the best in terms of performance from On, then look no further than the Cloudboom Echo 3. This is as good as it gets from On. Now I thought I'd show a few casual or court shoes. This isn't something I normally review on my channel, but it is something that I've had experience wearing. First up, we have the Cloud 5. Now I wouldn't recommend you run in this shoe, but for a casual shoe, these are fantastic. This is actually a waterproof version, and the shoe is usually available in a ton of different colorways. I've long since retired my pair of Clouds, but overall I remember it being a really nice daily shoe. Next up, I have a pair of Roger high tops. These things are just fun and fantastic, and it's always nice to have a pair of sweet high tops. Next up, this is called the Cloudnova. I just thought this colorway was so cool that I had to have a pair. This one is definitely not an easy one to pair with an outfit, but every once in a while I have to bust them out. Next up, we have the Cloud X3, and this is certainly more of a gym or cross training shoe. So for me, I've done a review on this shoe. I mostly use it when I do my kettlebell training or core training. So really light running with the shoe, usually just enough to warm up before I hit it hard with a strength session. And finally, this is technically a court shoe. I believe this is the Roger Clubhouse. Again, I just liked how these looked, so I've been rocking them as casual shoes. You can tell when you put the shoe on, it's definitely made for the court. It is unbelievably stiff. I feel like it would handle aggressive lateral movements with ease. But overall, like I said, this is a shoe that I've been wearing daily. And as a daily shoe, I have found it super comfortable. So that's going to be it for my 2024 breakdown. And if you have any questions about any of the shoes that I talked about, leave your comments down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. And if you're interested in getting any On shoes for yourself, I'll put a link down below in the description where you can find a pair. And like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.